So it is just that, purely administrative. We're not discussing the soundness of the plan. So it's just to run through things like actions and the process for drawing up the schedule of main modifications, etc. So I think the first, has everybody seen the agenda? Everybody got a copy of the agenda? Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
great.
thanks.
Yeah, so the first thing was action points then. I initially put week 3 of hearings, but I suppose we need to look at it overall. Are there any outstanding actions from weeks 1 and 2 before we look at weeks 3 and 4?
No, sir, no outstanding actions from the first 2 weeks of the hearings.
Okay, great. Well, then we'll leave you to kind of work up the actions from weeks 3 and 4 then. I don't think we've seen those yet. I don't know how quickly you can do that, or do you need to the end of next week, or would that be an appropriate deadline for that?
I think so. So we've taken the format from the first 2 weeks of the hearings and put together essentially a set of actions which we're working on. I think most of them are complete. A lot of them are uploading to the website, but there are a few notes and statements, for example, which we need to address. But I think the end of next week would be fine.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, we'll say that then. So that's the 29th, isn't it?
Or do we just suggest that deadline that we've given for everything else, which was
what, the 5th?
The 5th
of June. Yeah, can do. With a bit more time, actually. Yeah, fair enough.
So just to be clear, so this is to produce the list. So there'll be, if producing the list is the same deadline as the others, they may all sort of coalesce at the same time.
So next week, the end of next week might be better. So then you've got the list, and then you can get things ready for the following week potentially. So yeah, we leave it as a 29th, and then at least you know where you are then. If you need more time, you can let us know. It's fine, but we'll just say 29th of May in the first instance. Because there's a lot of different things coming in the 5th of June. I know that other participants are making comments on various notes and things that are coming. They're going to come in the 5th of June as well. So that's all fine. And then in terms of main modifications then, and the additional modifications, and any potential policies map changes that are consequential to the modifications. I think you've got the templates we sent through, and you've been sort of working them up, haven't you, as we've been going along, which is fine. So as per the agenda, I've got there's sort of 3 categories. So ones that are necessary and being agreed at the hearings, which is the majority of them. Might be some that are necessary that we haven't quite drafted them, or you haven't quite drafted them yet. And then obviously there's other issues that most inspectors have to go away and consider. So I think in terms of timescales for any potential main modifications consultation, obviously that depends on your approvals and going to cabinet or council or whatever. But if there's no issues, what I found, or what we found in terms of how it's happened in other places, it's usually about 4 to 5 months after the end of the hearings. So that could be late September, late October. But, if we have to go away and we decide that we have to issue maybe an initial findings letter or something like that, it might delay the process slightly. So I think we'll just play it by ear. But yeah, I was thinking, we were thinking, in terms of an initial set of draft main modifications, would it be possible to get that to us by, I don't know, the end of June, so 26th of June, maybe? If you need more time, you can let us know, but that's what we were initially thinking, because we're going to potentially be doing site visits on the week commencing 23rd of June. So if we got those out of the way, then we can start looking at because the process is, you do a draft one, send it through to us, we have a look, make comments on it, see what we think, and then send it back to you, and then it changes again until we get to a point where it's finalised, and then obviously goes out to consultation then. But obviously there's the additional modifications as well, and any policy map changes. So just have a think about those as well.
I think
So
in terms of timings, that I think would be fine. So I think that
Yeah.
that would work okay.
Yeah.
There were a couple of queries that we had
Yeah.
about how this might work. There are some modifications which we've suggested and submitted with the plan, but we hadn't, I suppose, quite got as a group into the rhythm of how they would be discussed early on in the sessions, in the hearing sessions. So there are some that are before you and are submitted to the examination, but weren't discussed at the hearings. These are some of the earlier sessions, essentially. So there are some, for example, in the housing section that we didn't discuss necessarily. So the question was the approach to how to address those, or do we just include those in the schedule as with all of the others, or how would you like us to deal with those?
If they've been submitted and we haven't discussed them, they should be included in the sort of new version of the schedule, if we want to call it that, with updated reference numbers, so MM1, MM2, that type of thing. And we'll consider them in the round anyway. But obviously, if we haven't discussed them, on the face of it, there probably isn't an issue with them. But again, we will look at everything in the round anyway. As we
Maybe it
do.
would be useful to highlight the ones that you think we haven't discussed, just so that we're aware of which ones they are.
Yeah, I think in the new version of the schedule, what you can do is have the old reference maybe in brackets in the first draft of it. So we're aware where that sits in, is it the schedule CSD 03, the original submission schedule? So we can cross refer back to that. And we'll have an idea in terms of, okay, they've been included because they were in there in the first place, and we'd consider them. But yeah. And then obviously new ones that have been changed. But yeah, you can highlight it as well in terms of which ones have been changed and which ones haven't. That would also help us. Yeah, that's a good point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So essentially, you'll have one master list of main modifications. Would you like? There'll be far fewer additional modifications than we had originally presented. A lot of those became main. Would you like that document to, just for completeness, include the additional modifications and policies map modifications as well, just so that you have a full picture, or how would you like us to provide those?
I think there'll be separate documents, separate schedules. So for the consultation, you will have the main modifications, the additional modifications, and policies map changes. They will be consulted on. But for us, in terms of us inspectors, what we're concerned with are the main modifications. So that's what we're recommending. So the additional modifications are what you guys are doing, for reasons we've discussed during the hearings, but you will have to consult on all of them.
Okay, that's fine. That makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Good. So yeah, I think in terms of item 3 in the agenda and the third bullet point of item 2, I think there's a bit of crossover there. So there are various issues that we've discussed that myself and Ms. McDonald will have to go away and consider, like, spatial strategy, sustainability appraisal, reasonable alternatives, higher growth option, and then we questions around landscape sensitivity assessment and valued landscapes, local green space, open space. They're the ones that kind of spring to mind. And I think there was a potential in terms of the policies map boundary issue in the city centre with St James's neighbourhood from memory. But I can't remember if that was resolved or not, or if there was going to be a note. There might be a note floating about. I can't remember. But yeah, it's that sort of thing. So we'll have a look at those issues in the round. We'll consider them. We'll also consider any other areas where a modification might be necessary. If it hasn't been finalised already, and if need be, we could potentially issue a post-hearings initial findings letter, but we don't know whether we're going to be doing that yet. So there's various procedures for that type of thing. So it has to go to MHCLG for consultation, etc., which can affect timescales. But we'll consider that anyway, and we will let you know in due course. So, are there any, I suppose what might assist us as well, when you're kind of looking at the schedule of modifications in the round, the draft one, is potentially highlight ones where you think we still need to take a view on it. I mean, I've highlighted some, but I might have missed some. I don't know if you've got a list of those already. But we will double check our notes as well, and then we can compare and contrast once we've received the draft schedule through the end of June. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's fine. So it sounds as though we will kind of annotate the schedule in various ways, depending on modifications that we've previously submitted but perhaps weren't discussed at the sessions. Highlighting where we have revised modifications which were previously submitted, and then further ones where we might think that the agreement was that you're still considering those. Okay, that's fine.
And obviously there's other issues like, the secondary healthcare as well. There's various notes and statements of common ground still to come in, so we will have to consider those around as well. So it's just kind of highlighting those things to you, that we will be having a look at those sorts of issues and consider them in the round. If there's anything further we need, we will let you know through Mr. Young in any event.
Can I ask one other thing, which was there through the discussions that have obviously taken place iteratively, there are one or two potential modifications, usually minor, or informally describing them as minor, which have possibly arisen. So I know there was a discussion, for example, about whether minimizing the need to travel was an appropriate phrase, and that was raised within policy S1, and then it was then picked up later on during the transport discussion. But then it might be referenced elsewhere in the supporting text, almost in passing in various places. If we've got points like that, or I don't know, updated references or whatever it might be, which haven't been discussed but relate to other discussions that did take place in the hearings, should we include those in that schedule and draw those to your attention as well for completeness, or how would you like us to play those?
That would be helpful. If you could do that, that would be really helpful. So it's basically like, boxing those off, making sure we're aware of them, even if they are additional modifications, and basically your responsibility, but we still need to know where they fit into the overall context of the plan, and changes that we're recommending to it. So sometimes you'd make a main modification and it will have consequential effects and changes on either the policies map or other areas where you need to clarify things. And it might not be a main modification, but it would be another additional modification. So if there's any of those that we've sort of in principle agreed, or you've informed us of them during the hearing sessions, it would be useful if you could highlight them. But that said, we will look at things in the round anyway. But you will have the column in the schedule saying, the reason for the modification. So you can maybe highlight things in that as well. So you would say the reason for effectiveness and to ensure that policy X does Y and Z, and this led to a consequential change to paragraph Y. So that sort of thing. It doesn't have to be too detailed, but yeah, it can just flag it up and assist us. So does all that make sense broadly, or is there anything else you need to clarify?
That all makes sense to us, sir. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. So yeah, I think the only other thing we were looking at was, yeah, the site visits. So we had a few down. So obviously there's the first one on my list is allocation. Allocation is 90 and 140. So this is like the mixed use potential joining of those two allocations. We need to have a look at that. There's the open space referred to by Tesco, Russell Way one. There's the potential retail centre site, which is Growan Estates, so that's north of Honiton Road. Matford Lane, County Hall, local green space. The green circle, we know where that is, so we'll have a look at that. Maysfield, I can't remember exactly where that is, but that's what Councillor Moore referred us to.
Is it north? The north
Is
city centre, isn't it, Maysfield? Is that right?
North of City Centre. Right,
Maysfield's in Topsham.
Topsham. Oh, so it's south.
Yeah,
okay,
it's on the sort of eastern edge of Topsham.
Okay. And then obviously all the strategic brownfield allocations, we need to have a look at those. That's what I had. I might have missed something. Is there anything else, Katie, you can think of?
No, that's all I've got on my list.
That we've got. Okay.
Yeah. I think that's it. I mean, we have done one of the strategic allocations last week.
We have, yes. I forgot.
We
did.
came back up north.
Yeah, we did SBA too, didn't we? We looked around the civic centre, seeing as we were there. We had a quick walk around. It was okay.
But I
right.
don't think there is. Are there any else from you, from the council, that we need to go and look at?
I don't think so.
You don't have to answer straight away. I mean, you can have a think about it, and you can get back to us if you say, "Oh, actually, when you're looking through things, and you might be looking at modifications, you might say, "Oh, actually, might be used to have a look at that site," or maybe we agreed to it and have forgotten. You can just flag it up to us.
There was a discussion last week about allotments at Shillingford Road.
There was, wasn't there? Yes.
Which was
right.
one, which is on the sort of western side of Exeter, on the edge of Alphington. So that would be one.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good reminder. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, we'll add that to the list. So presumably the majority of those, if not all of them, we can just go and have a look at. We don't need to get access to any of them, or there's no health and safety issues. Again, you can have think about that. But
yeah, I think that the vast majority of those you can get a reasonably good sight of from the highway, or neighbouring accessible areas fairly easily. It might be that the area around Sandy Park might require some access, depending if how far within the site you wish to go. But you can see a lot of it from sort of neighbouring land which is accessible, or highways. So that's relatively accessible. If you were interested in looking at some of the areas of Water Lane in a bit more detail, that would again, a lot of that is visible from the highway of Water Lane, for example, or adjacent rights of way along the canal, for example. But if you were interested in sort of getting into the sort of internal areas of some of the sites in a little bit more detail, for example, Iska House, which is the gas holders site.
Yes.
That could be, I'm sure we could arrange that via the landowners. But yeah, if you let us know which ones you may like to look at in more detail, we can organise that and help out.
Yeah, we'll do that. But yeah, I think the Iska House is a potential one because that was referred to quite a lot during the hearing sessions, Mr. Collinson and others. So yeah, I think we probably will look at that one from a bit more detail. But yeah, we'll have to think about doing the Sandy Park. Which allocation is that part of, or which area?
So that was the area of land adjacent to Sandy Park. So currently it's identified as the northern allocation is an employment site, and then there was the southern residential site.
Oh, Mr. McMurdo's.
That's the okay. That's the one.
Absolutely, yeah. They're promoted by Mr. McMurdo.
So that's 90 and 140. Yeah, okay. Right. Yeah, we will have to look at them. We'll double check. Okay. Great. I don't think there was anything else we were going to run through, unless you've got anything else, Katie. No. Any final points of clarification required for the council, or are you okay broadly?
I think that covers everything. So yeah, thank you.
Okay then. So we've no other matters to go through in terms of the administrative points for now. So yeah, just leaves us to say thank you very much to everyone for your contributions, not just this week, but also through previous weeks and previous sessions. Yeah, it's been very informative and good natured. There's been very, very, very good examination, and yeah, good luck with getting the modifications drafted up. We look forward to reading them, and thank you all again. So we can just close the hearing sessions for the local plan for Exeter, and thank you very much again.
Thank you very much for your input. It's been thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye now.
Bye.